Today we're going to be doing the BookTube Newbie tag. For those who don't know, the BookTube Newbie tag consists of a bunch of questions, aka tags, for newbie booktubers. I've created a bunch of videos a couple of years ago, but that doesn't count because I was in college and I didn't have enough time, and then I was just like all over the place, and we're gonna forget that ever happened. So welcome to my brand new revamped BookTube channel. The first newbie tag we're gonna address is, when did I start reading? I think it's safe to say that a majority of people began reading in their elementary school days, which is basically when I started reading my books. From what I remember back in elementary school, I was obsessed with the Junie B. Jones series, and I remember my grandma telling me many times, stop reading about this girl, you're gonna end up just like her, looking all raggedy and acting bratty. When I entered third grade or fourth grade, I don't remember, my parents got me a Game Boy for my birthday, and it was the Game Boy Advance. So like there was a little button that you would click and it kind of lit up the screen. Of course that was a big deal back in the day because playing with the original Game Boys, they didn't have a lit up screen, so it's really difficult to play in the dark, but I found better use for that. I remember I would be in bed, it's already pretty late, I would have the covers up, I would have a book open in front of me, I would take this Game Boy Advance, turn on that little light feature, balance it under my chin so that I can be reading in bed like this well into the night. So I guess you can say my addiction started around third, fourth grade when I would be staying up, and instead of playing my Game Boy, I would use it as a light source to read books. When it comes to the genre of YA and fantasy, which is mostly what I've been reading throughout my life, I would say I started in about 7th grade, so I think I was like 13 years old. I had two really amazing friends in middle school who began reading the Twilight series, so that was like 13 years old, right? I think I requested the book from the library, and in the meantime, in order to keep up with them, we would be sitting during our lunch period. I would be reading, we're reading from the same book, two people from the same book. I would be reading in the beginning, and then they would be reading somewhere towards the end, and we'd be reading from one book, and that would be our lunch period. The first Twilight movie came out in 2008, a week before my birthday, so I was turning 14 years old, and as a gift, they got me tickets to see the first Twilight movie, and that was the first time I was reading a book series and there was a movie adaptation for it, so I was really excited to go see it. After the Twilight series, I read this other series called Marked by PC Cast, and I think that just continued on with my little vampire obsession. I mean, let me tell you, I have a brother who's around 6 years younger than I am. When I was 14, 15, he was 8, 9 years old, and I had convinced him that I was a vampire. I mean, come on, it's no secret. Look at me, I'm whiter than sour cream. Like, I'm super white, so I already convinced him just by appearances, and because I would act all, you know, oh God, I don't want to even reenact it, oh my God. But I would act like a vampire, pretend that I liked biting people, that I drank blood. But yeah, he was fully convinced that I was a vampire for a little while. Following the whole Twilight thing and the whole vampire thing, I started going to the library after I figured out what that genre was, the fantasy, the YA, and I had found the Hunger Games series, which also had come out in 2008, the first book, and I really liked that whole dystopian YA genre, and I would just keep coming back to that section year after year. I think the following year, in 2009, the book Beautiful Creatures came out, and that's when I got more into the magic side of fantasy rather than just like mythical creatures, but real actual magic in book. And from there, I just skyrocketed with reading. The next newbie tag is, why did I start reading? I mean, come on, reality is so boring. Fantasy just brings you to life. It's probably just me, but honestly, reading fantasy does make me feel more alive because we have so many problems in our lives and in reality in general that it's an escape from that reality. But don't get me wrong, after my freshman or sophomore year of high school, I did kind of steer clear from fantasy for a little bit because I was introduced to historical fiction. I think a really good transition for me from fantasy to historical fiction was reading different mythologies. Greek mythology, of course, being the primary one, but I read other ones. And once I kind of got on that train, I found that there were a lot of Greek mythology books more towards the fiction section of the library rather than the YA. So I stopped going there for a bit and I continued down to the fiction and then the historical fiction section of the library. From there, I realized I had a huge love for historical fiction, and I'm talking about like the 1800s or like the Regency period. That's what we associate with like wearing ball gowns and like extravagant thrones and throwing balls. There is one newbie tag that caught my attention, and I don't know if many people experience this, but I hope I'm not alone in saying that once I started college, which was in 2014, so after I graduated high school, I basically completely stopped reading books. I took a huge break. Between the years of 2014 and 2019, I read maybe 1 or 2 books throughout that whole duration of time. If I did want to read something, but I just didn't have the time, because come on, let's all face it, when you go to college, you don't have any time. You just have time to read your textbooks, do your work, go to class, eat, sleep, repeat, you know? So I went on Wattpad instead, and I spent those 5 years on Wattpad reading instead of reading other, like physical books. Yeah, the people on Wattpad who are publishing aren't actual published authors in the real world. Many of them are actually now, but during that time they weren't. But you have to understand that there are so many talented and creative people there that for those 5 years, it satisfied my craving for reading. I was reintroduced to reading physical books when I created my Bookstagram account in 2019. Bookstagram is basically a community of book lovers who are on Instagram, hence the name Bookstagram. And from there, I just found a new appreciation for books. I saw how people made creative posts using books. I found so many new releases in those 5 years that I regret not reading them, and I lost those 5 years of my life. Like, my TBR pile is through the roof because I lost so much time not reading books. Fast forward to 2022, I have made so many friends who have offered me so many recommendations. I found so many talented, soon-to-be authors. I have been able to receive ARCs for, indie authors so I can review them, and I just realized there's so much talent and creativity in the world. Huge thanks to Bookstagram for reintroducing me to so many amazing books. Rest assured, I'm never giving up books again. And I guess a little side note, when I say 2019, it was much later in the year. It was like August or September. One of the first books that I started reading again was the Cruel Prince series. I'm not saying it's the greatest series in the world. I've definitely read much better books. I'm really grateful that I've read that series because after that, I was introduced to Fairy Loot, which I found through Bookstagram. I followed their account, and then I actually subscribed to them for a little while. And I had the opportunity, after reading the series, they came out with a limited edition, collector's edition of the series, and I'm very proud of that series. Fairy Loot and other subscription box services had introduced me to bookish items, so I began collecting items such as bookish candles, pins, bookmarks, blankets. So I have a huge inventory of these incredible bookish items. And I can't make a video without mentioning my all-time favorite series, which I did read in the start of 2020, which is A Court of Thorns and Roses. After I was introduced to this author, Sarah J. Maas, aka the person who's responsible for all of my mass destruction, see what I did there? That really got the ball rolling. After end of 2019, beginning of 2020, that's it. That's when I started reading more often, and I am incredibly grateful to have met so many amazing people and have the opportunity to read so many incredible books. Moving on to the next newbie tag, and that's why did I even start this channel? Like I said, the bookish community is a massive community, and I feel like I only know 0.00001% of this community. YouTube is a great place to speak to people, listen to their opinions, find out what other people like, and I adore that. I really want to know what people enjoy and what other people would recommend for me to read and what I could recommend for you guys to read. I've been a part of many book clubs in the past, and I know that BookTube has a large community of book club people, book club clubbers, whatever they're called. Anyways, so there's a lot of book clubs out there, and I feel like YouTube is a great place to go and find all of these hidden gems. Ultimately, I am here to bring a safe haven for readers where we can discuss books and talk about your opinions without any judgment. And please don't hesitate to comment any of your opinions. If you don't agree with me on some kind of book review, or if you want to find out more information about anything I discussed, please leave a comment down below. I want to know more about you guys. What got you into reading? Do you guys have a Bookstagram account? If you do, I would love to follow. So please like and subscribe. And please let me tell you why you need to subscribe. My husband made a deal with me saying that if I hit 1,000 subscribers, he's gonna take me on a major book haul shopping spree to Barnes & Noble's, and I really want a nice book haul, and I want to share that journey with you guys. So please, please, please don't forget to subscribe. And thank you for joining me in my small corner of bookish paradise.